Hello everyone and welcome to the Keycard tutorial for Unreal Engine 5. In this video we are going to be setting up a keycard system so that the player can pick up several different keycard types and interact with several different doors requiring those keycards. So let's begin, shall we? First off, we're going to need to make our door, and for this tutorial I will be using the same tutorial world as I used last time when showing how to graybox. However, you are welcome to use whichever variant or style you wish to go for, whether it be first person, third person, one of the templates. It is totally up to yourself. I have also taken out one of the doorways for this building that we made look quite nice in the last one, and I will be requiring a keycard to open the door to go into it. So let's go ahead and make our door. So first off, we do need to make a folder for all of our stuff to go into. Let's make a folder called Keycard Tutorial. In this folder, we are going to create a brand new blueprint class, and this is going to be an actor because this is going to be our door object. So door underscore obj. You can call this obj door, you can call this door BP, BP door. It's totally up to yourself. However, try and keep your naming convention consistent throughout your project. BP meaning blueprint, OBJ meaning object. Those are the two recommended ones to go with. I will be going with OBJ because I am more familiar and more in the habit of using OBJ over BP. So let's open our door object, our door blueprint, and inside of this we are going to add a static mesh and a box collision. So on the left hand side in the components tab we need to add a static mesh. Just a simple static mesh, and over on the right hand side we are going to assign this static mesh to be the SM underscore cube. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see our cube there. Now, there's two ways to go about doing this. You can assign just a static mesh and then assign the mesh, or you can add just a cube. Simple and plain and simple. Next thing we need is a box collision component. So in our drop-down list for add, we're going to search for box collision and add that in. It is not visible to us. I am going to drag that over the static mesh so that the two are clicked in place and the box is attached to the mesh itself. Clicking on the box, we are able to resize this. So let's go and resize this bad boy. Let's change the size. Why are you all the way down there? I've done something wrong, haven't I? Let's start that from scratch again. Hold on. Let's add a cube. Ah, it's two different kinds of cubes. My mistake. Let's retcon that. So remove your static mesh and your box collision. Let's add in a cube. And then we're going to add in a box collision. Just to make sure that everything is going as planned. So let's resize that box collision out a little bit, so that way we can actually interact with it. That way we have some overlap. We don't want it to be too big because as we resize this in the level, that box collision is going to get much bigger. So let me just pull this in a little bit. There we are. Okay, next on the to-do list, we need to actually create some logic for our door. So over in the event graph, there's one thing I forgot to do. Can you point out what it is? Yes, I need to compile what I've done. So over in the event graph, let's get rid of these three: the event begin play, the actor begin overlap, and the event tick. We do not need these at all right now. Let's get rid of those. We can always bring them back in later by right click, typing event, and they're all there for us to add back in at any point in time. Like the event begin play, for example. But we don't need that right now. We're going to make a custom event. So we're going to right click and we're going to go custom event. We're going to call this door open. Shall we? Let's actually rename it to what it is in the tutorial. Let's call this blast door. Oops, help if I could spell. Door open. And from this execute pin, we are going to grab a play sound at the location. So when this event is called, it will play a sound at the location, and the location we want it to be at is at the location of the current actor. So get actor location is what we need to plug into there. This way it will get the location of the actor that this event is on and play the sound at its location. You can assign what sound you want to use later on. It's totally up to yourself. I'll probably add that in later to finish off the project a little bit. So coming off of the play sound at location, we need to do a timeline. I forgot the name for it, even though it's right in front of me. We need to do, let's call this door open underscore timeline. Now instead of going into play, we need to plug this into play from start. I've capitalized the second O in there. So feel free to not make the same spelling errors that I have, and feel free to actually spell things correctly compared to myself. And then you can look back and say, Chris, you are an idiot for spelling things completely wrong. Anyway, we're going to double click on our timeline, and we're going to add a new track. With a length of 5, let's add in a new track, and this is going to be a float track. Because we wanted to track over time, and float uses decimal places, so we wanted to be able to count up with milliseconds into seconds. So, let's call our track door open. Door space open. If we compile this and go back into the event graph, you'll see a new pin has appeared on your timeline in green, because floats are green. From here, we're able to pull out and get the value of this float. So back in our timeline, we will right-click on the timeline itself, on the track itself, and we will insert a new pin, a new key. With this key selected, we will get a time and value, timing box and a value box. We're going to set both of these for the first key to 0, because we want it to be at bang on 0 seconds for the animation. And then we're going to right click and add a second one in, and this is going to be a time of 5 because we want to take up the entire track, and a value of 1. Right, now that we've got that, let's compile and let's go back to our event graph. From here, we are going to drag out and we are going to grab a lerp vector. So dragging off from your door open float, we're going to grab the lerp, and it's going to give us a few different ones. The one we're looking for is vector. So it's going to allow us to, over the time of the timeline, it will make changes to the current vector. So we are going to have two, where is it? We are going to have 2 new variables. Let's add 2 variables. So on the variables section over on the left, let's click this plus button over here on the side, and it will automatically add in a boolean because this is the very first variable type in the list. We're just going to call this closed. Now, obviously, we don't need it to be a boolean. What we're looking for is a vector. So dropping that down, we get access to every variable type known to mankind, or known to Unreal Engine at least. Let's grab vector. That will change closed to a vector. And we are going to create a second one. So if we hit that plus icon again, because we made a vector variable last time, it will give us another vector variable when we try to add a new one. It's nice and handy. Saves maybe a couple clicks at most. Let's compile that so that we can actually make changes to what the default values of these are. The closed vector we are going to leave at 0, 0, 0. However, the open vector we're going to make changes to. We are going to change this to, if I zoom in here real quick, we're going to change the x-axis to 1510. We're We're going to change the y-axis to 1510, and we're going to set the z-axis to 380. And then we're just going to plug these in. So open goes into the B channel and closed goes into the A channel. This is going to let us flip-flop back and forth between them. So it's coming together, and the only other thing we need to do now is set relative location. So coming out of the return value of the lerp, we're going to grab a set relative location. And what we're looking to set the position of is the cube itself. So let's grab cube, and we're going to take the execute pin on the left-hand side of that node and plug it into the update. That is our movement code, our positional code for the door, completely done. Now let's move on to creating the keycard data. Now this will be stored within the player character, because obviously what we're looking to do is set up a system to where it will ask you the system will ask the player character if they have a key within their keycard's selection. If that key matches the number of the door will open. So hopping back over to our content browser, you may have it on in your object section, which in fact, yes, we do. Down here. I'm just not used to using that. In my first person folder, this might be in your third person folder if you're using the third person template, or wherever you stored your player character if you custom built one. In my first person folder in blueprints, I will find my BP first person character. This is exactly what I am looking for. So if I open that bad boy up, I will see all of the camera and the movement, as well as the jump input code. And the very first thing I need to do in here, in fact, I think the only thing we really need to do in here right now is to add a new variable. So let's go to the variables tab over on the left. Let's add a brand new variable, and we're going to call this, what are we calling this? Keycards. Now it is set to a Boolean because we are looking to ask a question, as if, do you have the correct key for this door? That is a question, so it will use a Boolean. However, what we're looking to do is have a storage system of Booleans, which is an array. So over on the right hand side, you can't do this on the left, but over on the right, you'll see this Boolean icon with a drop down next to the variable type. If you drop this down, it will give you single, array, set, and map. The one we are looking for is array. This is going to create is going to turn this single Boolean check into a storage system, a sort of inventory, a built-in inventory of Booleans that you can call upon. We are going to set this instance to editable because we want to be able to make changes to it later on. And over on the left-hand side, you will see that the eye is open. You can change the instance editable not just on the right hand side by toggling it on and off, but you can also do it on the left just by clicking on the eye to open and close it. So I will leave it open because we need it to be open. If I compile that, we need to set how many essential storage inventory slots we have within this array. So that can be done over on the right hand side after compiling. There is a remove all elements button and an add element button. We're going to click that add element button, I think 4 times. You could probably go 3, but let's go 4 for now. And then hit compile. It's always good practice. It's always good to get into the habit of hitting compile whenever you make changes, because if there's any problems within your code, it will flag up before you continue. Likewise, it will also not let you playtest without fixing your code as well. Let's hop back over to the door because we're going to add some code onto the door to check if the player has collided with the box or overlapped with the box collision on the door. So, returning to the door BP, or object in my case, I am going to select the box collision. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom on the right hand side, and I'm going to select this on component begin overlap node, and I'm going to hit that plus icon there to give me the on component begin overlap with the box specifically, the event for this. Right, now what we need to do is we need to drag off the execute pin and we're going to cast to our player character. In my case, this is going to be first person character. This might for you be cast to third person character. It is totally down to what template you're using, or if you have set up a custom one yourself, you will have to find that in the list. For me, I'm using the first person character. You may want to use the third person if you've used it. Take that object tag and plug it into other actor, because the other actor that we're checking for is going to be only the player character. If you do not plug it in, or if you plug it into, no, I suppose it would have to be plugged in at some time. No, it wouldn't have to be actually. Actually, you know what? Let's test it. Instead of me just asking questions, let's try it. Compile? Doesn't like it. Cool. Let's plug it into other actor. If there was no cast to, and you just went straight into the checking of the code, obviously it would say, hey, there's no key stored here. But if you weren't doing the key check, it would say, regardless of what thing overlaps with me, I'm going to open. Whether it be the player character, whether it be an enemy, whether it be a stray bullet, I'm going to open because I'm going to run through my code when something collides with me. So we need to specify that the other actor is the player character because it's the only thing we're looking for. With that in place, we are going to take off of here and we're going to do a do once node. And from the character, we are going to get keycards. And then from here, we're going to do a for each loop with break and plug that into completed. I'm going to move this over just to keep things nice and tidy. Aha, I found the image of the code that I'm actually putting in right now. So I will use that instead of the words on screen. Perfect. Right, so coming off of the loop body, we are going to go into a branch. Now there's two ways we can go about doing this. We can drag off of loop body and just search for branch. If I could spell. Branch. Which gets us our branch. Alternatively, if you hold B on the keyboard and just right click, it will input a branch straight away for you. So there's a nice little keyboard shortcut. I don't know why I deleted that branch when I'm just plugging in the exact same thing in. But you know what? We'll overlook it for now. From true, we want to call upon our event, blast door open. And if you search for the name of the event, it will give you under the call function tag, the call function heading, the event for that blast door open. So if for each loop within break, with the break, if we're checking for this, and the array element eventually is the thing we're looking for, it will run this code. What we also need to do now, however, though, is take this pin from blast door open and reel that back into the break. I'm going to add in a few of these points just to keep the code nice and tidy so that it's easily read. Now, we've got our branch, but we don't have our condition yet. So this is where the array element pin from our for each loop with break comes into play. So we're going to search, drag off that, and search and the one we're looking for is and boolean. Go ahead and pin that in, and we need some sort of thing to search for. So off of the array index this time, we're going to do double equals and plug that into the and. Now, we don't have an integer, so we're going to have to make a variable for it. So let's create a new variable within the door itself. Let's go to that plus icon at the variable section. Let's click add, and we're going to call this keycard value. We're going to change this from a vector into an integer, And we're going to drag that off and plug that straight into our equals equals. Because what this is going to do is, this is going to be our check for, does the keycard within the array have the same keycard value as the door, and if true, it's going to open. Coming off of the completed tab, we want to get another branch. So I'm going to hold B on my keyboard, I'm going to right click, I'm going to left click, and I'm going to plug that in. Did I say right click before? I meant to say left click. I'm going to make a few of these little pins, just, probably don't actually need this one. Oh, well, I didn't mean to do that. I do need that one. Let's do that just to keep things tidy. I'm going to take from this and plug it into here, this and plug that into the branch as well, because I'm looking to do something else with this. I'm going to drag off of the true, and I'm going to do a sequence, and from the then one pin, I want to drag that all the way back to the reset. And I'll do a couple of those pins just to keep things tidy and easily readable. Off of then 0, however, I want to do a do once again. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a widget for us. Now we don't have a widget just yet, but that is what we're going to get to next. We're just going to finish off this code a little bit. What a widget is user interface. It's going to, what this is going to do, this section here, is it's going to not just open the door or read the value, but it's going to display, this one specifically is going to display if we have the wrong key. So from return value, we want to add to viewport, because it's all very well as having a widget created and reading the code, but we actually need to have it visible. So that is why we need to add it to the viewport. Coming off of this, we need to do a delay, because although we're adding it to the viewport, we need to eventually remove it. And that is what the delay is for. We need to remove from parent. Okay, let's not do it from there. Let's take off the return value and remove from parent. Now you could turn off context sensitive when coming off of completed for the delay. You can still find it this way. However, it is a little easier and a little quicker to do it coming off of the thing that you're looking to target. Because we're looking to target the specific widget that we're creating, i.e. looking to remove the widget that we're creating, it's just as easy, if not easier, to take off from the return value, because that is our target for it. And remove from parent. The duration, we don't want it to just flash on screen, so let's go for a value of 2. This should be 2 seconds. Is 2 maybe too long, too short? You know what, just in case, let's go 5. You can alter this to however you wish. It's totally up to yourself. But I'm going to leave it as this for now. After the remove from parent, I want to bring that back to reset. And once again, I'm going to add in a couple of pins just to make sure my code is nice and tidy and readable. So your code should be looking like this. And that, my friends, is our collision code. Next on the docket, we're going to create that wrong keycard message. So let's compile before we forget. It is going to tell us that there's an issue. We know there's an issue because we haven't made the widget just yet. That slide we have already done. We've just finished that. Does not have the correct keycard. Add sequence. Add do once. Yeah, that's fine. We have got that. Add the widget text. Here we go. Right, so compiling will tell us there's an error. We know there's an error. We expected this much because we don't have a widget yet, which is what we're about to do. So in your content drawer, let's go back to the Keycard tutorial folder, and we are going to, hello, door object. Oh, it's because there is an error in the code. That's fine, that'll fix itself. In the content drawer, in your Keycard tutorial folder, let's right click in there, and we're going to go to the user interface tag of the selection that we have, and we're going to go for a widget blueprint. This is going to be a user widget because it is user interface. Let's call this wrong keycard. Oh, doesn't like a space. Of course. Wrong keycard underscore. I'm going to call this, let's just go widget. Wrong keycard. Open that up, and the first thing we need to do is add a canvas, or else nothing is going to be actually showing. In Unreal Engine 4, it automatically adds a canvas for you when you first create the widget, but in Unreal 5 you actually have to add a canvas yourself. With our canvas added, let's go ahead and add some text. This text is just going to say, you can position it kind of anywhere, really. You could try and make use of the anchors if you wish. However, I'm just going to manually place mine in place. It doesn't, the tutorial doesn't tell me not to, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to manually place mine for now. We get into anchors later on when we really delve a lot more into user interface stuff in Unreal. I'm going to resize this ever so slightly to make sure all my text fits in. In the content section on the side, that is where you will find the actual content of the text itself. So let's go ahead and, like it says in the slide, if I could spell, service error, keycard required, you dum-dum. That's what it says. That is exactly what it says, word for word. So, now that we have our widget, let's compile that. And if we go back to our door object, in that class section where it says in our create widget, where it says construct none, in the class section, we can drop that down and we can find our wrong keycard widget. Compile that again, and our cube is back. There is no problems with our code. We are A-OK. We're good to go. There is a slide in here that says is optional. Consume keycard after use. I am not going to go through that code. I'm going to leave that for you to figure out on your own if you wish to use it or not. You guys are level 6. You don't need your hands held. Let's face it. And we're going to go straight on to the make door mesh as well as the material editable. So I had a lot of problems with this, I will not lie, when going over this a couple times in my own time. However, I managed to get it to work, thankfully. I managed to figure it out. So let's go ahead and in our Keycard tutorial folder, we are going to create... Oh, no, never mind. In our door object folder, we are in our door object, sorry, our door BP door, door object, obj door, whatever you've called it. Let's go to the construction script from here. And I'm going to zoom in on this image so that I can actually see this a little bit easier. Now, I've done this a few times, so I know exactly what I'm doing. Wahahaha. If I drag off from the cube, because I'm looking to make changes to the mesh itself. So the cube is what is going to be the mesh that we see visually in the world. So dragging off the cube, we're going to get a reference to it. And with this, we're going to do a couple of things. 3 things specifically. The first thing, I'm going to drag off and get a set static mesh for that cube and plug it straight into the construction script. Now the target is set, the target itself is the cube. Oh, hold on. I've overlooked something that is very, very important. In the variables section, I completely forgot. I do apologize. Your keycard value integer click that eyeball icon. That needs to be open. And while I'm at it, I'm going to make sure... Yes, no, we're okay. So make sure this is instance editable, or the eyeball is open. Right. Going back. So, coming off of the cube, I am setting the static mesh. The target is the cube because that is the thing I'm looking to actually make changes to. The new mesh, however, I want to right-click on that pin and promote it to a variable. Doing so will give me not only a reference to the thing that I'm looking to actually utilize, but over in the variables, we see we have a static mesh variable created after we promoted this to a variable. I'm going to call this door mesh. Now, in Unreal 4, it seems that you don't have to do anything more than that to this door mesh variable. However, if I compile, we can see that the cube is now gone. The reason for this is because in Unreal 5, you have to actually dictate what the default value of this is, or default mesh. So we're going to drop that down on the right-hand side and select the cube. By compiling, going back to the viewport, we see the cube is back. We do need to do a little kind of readjusting of position, but we will come to that later on, because it's right now we are still setting up the scripts and stuff. We can faff about with this later. In the construction script, still we are going to come off of the cube reference once more, and we are going to create dynamic mesh. What? Oh, that's because I'm spelling it wrong. It is the wrong word. It's create dynamic material instance. And the one we're looking for is the one in materials, and it's that first one that's, make sure to hover over them, and it says target is primitive component. As you can see, there's a couple of them that are the exact same name, but with different functions. For example, the second one in the list, target is Kismet material library. I'll be honest, I've got no clue what that is, but I will find out. And the one in decals is target is decal component. The one you are looking for is target is primitive component. Add that in and connect the set static mesh with the create dynamic material instance. Now I do realize that there are notes, comments within the code on the slideshow. However, I will not be adding them in, just for speed in the video. Please refer to the PowerPoint slide for those comments. These comments that Nathan has ever so kindly included do include things that tell you what these pieces do, but I will try my best to help kind of outline as such. So, the source material of the create dynamic material instance, much like we did with the new mesh tag, we are going to right click that and promote that to a variable. I'm just going to leave this as source material for now. You can change it to something else if you so wish to do so. However, I'm just going to leave it as source material. I'm going to hit compile, and before I forget, on the left hand side for the door mesh and the source material, I'm going to click the eyeballs on both so that they are open and available to be edited. Now, we don't have a source material. Now, I do have a few materials already in here. However, I want to create a brand new one. One that's just plain black, that is just going to be a material instance that I can make changes to later on. So what I'm going to do in my content drawer is I'm going to make a new folder called materials, and I'm going to right click in here and make a new material. This is going to be dynamic underscore mat. If I open that up, I'm going to be met with this. The only thing I need to do in here is add in a vector parameter, which I can find by right-clicking and searching vector parameter. Or, much like our branch, there's a keyboard shortcut for it. If you hold V on your keyboard and left-click, it will start typing as soon as it goes in, but we were looking to rename it anyway. So we're going to call this color with a capital C. Move it up into place and connect it to base color just to make sure it's nice and tidy. Because I like everything to be nice and tidy. Click on apply up top and you're good to go. Almost. Back in your content drawer, we are going to right click that brand new material that we created and we are going to create a material instance of this. I am just going to leave it as is because all it's done is add inst at the end of the name. Now, source material, our drop down for this, we are going to use that dynamic mat inst. It should be at the very top of your list. If it's not, then feel free to go searching for it. In fact, please do go searching for it. There is a search assets box, or you can alternatively scroll and look through the copious amounts of materials that you may have at your disposal. But that dynamic mat inst is what we are looking for. Now, if I hit compile, our cube is now black because our colored material instance is pure black. This we can make changes to later on. So, coming off of the return value for this material instance, we're going to do a set vector parameter value, and hovering over them again, the first one selected in the list is Kismet Material Library. Again, I don't know what that is. The one you're looking for is underneath it. Hover over it to double check, and its target is Material Instance Dynamic. That is the one you were looking for. Gonna move that into place for tidiness. And we are going to change the parameter name to color, because that is the vector parameter name that we gave the base color of the material. Now, for the value, we want to do something similar to what we did with the new mesh and the source material. We want to right click on the value and promote that to a variable. I'm going to rename this to be color. Remember, whenever you create a variable, it always has the name of it highlighted, ready to be changed. So you don't have to go ahead and double click it. You don't have to right click rename. It's ready to be renamed straight away. And once again, much like the rest of them, let's click the eyeball to open it so that the instance is editable. Move that up to the top so it's out the way of the box below it and nice and easy to see. Now, the final piece of the puzzle that we are going to need is dragging off from the cube. One more time, we're going to set material. I'm going to turn context sensitive back on, and the one we are looking for is cube. Why have you... what the hell? Why is it added in another cube? If it adds in another cube tab, then I don't know. Get rid of it. Shouldn't be there. There should only be one. Right. Let's get this slightly out of the way as well. And we'll plug in the set material into the set vector parameter value. And off of the create dynamic material instance, we want to take that off and plug that in to our material so that we can update it. Let's move this pin down here to keep things nice and tidy. And it should look something like this. Right, that is our material. So let's do a quick little test. So if I go into my world and I drag the door object in place, I know I need to make a few changes to it. However, just to show you how editable this is, over on the right hand side under default, we can see a few things that wouldn't normally be there. These are our variables that are set to be open and instance editable. So our keycard value is there, our door mesh is there, and our source material as well as our color is there. If we go to color and click on this, we obviously get our color wheel, but we can, oh, my PC is lagging something fierce. We can change the color of the cube just by clicking on the color wheel. And that is just how dynamic this is. We are going to do something similar with the keycard as well. Next. So, keycard. Speaking of which, we're going to need to actually make a keycard. Let's go back to the door object. Let's make sure we are saving our entire project just in case anything goes wrong. We don't want a whole crash to happen and the person next to us go absolute cinema because they're laughing at us because we've lost all our stuff. So if we go into our keycard tutorial folder, let's right click and we're going to make a new blueprint class. We're going to make a new actor, and this is going to be called, I'm going to call this keycard underscore obj because I'm used to working with objs and that is just how I like to name things. Again, you can name it bp underscore keycard, you can call it bp keycard, keycard bp, obj keycard, keycard obj. It's totally up to yourself. Keep it consistent, however. Right, in our keycard obj, let's go ahead and do the same thing as we did with our door. Let's add a static mesh. I'm going to add in, let's go with, do we add static mesh? Nah, let's go with the plane, shall we? Actually, no, let's not go with the plane. Let's do the same again. Let's just add a cube. However, this time we're actually going to resize it. I'm going to shrink this down like that. And I'm going to make this a little more kind of keycard shape. Like, oh god, I made it disappear. That's not what I was looking to do. Let's just make it like this for now. And then we're going to need a box collision. Box collision. And that is perfectly shaped, I would say. Excellent stuff. I am going to, however, oh gosh. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. You know what, let's just leave it like that. We can make alterations to this later. I'll show you a couple things that we can do that are not in the tutorial. Let's compile that. Let's go to the event graph now. And let's add in a couple pieces of code. Let's get rid of these guys because we don't need them. They're stinky. Get them out of here. The first thing we need to do in the event graph is find our on component begin overlap for the box. And how do we do that? Yes, we click on our box. On the right hand side, go down to the very bottom and then find on component begin overlap. You're going to be an absolute expert at this by the time you're done with this tutorial. And once again, we are dragging off of the execute and we are going to cast to our player character. For me, once again, this is my first person character. For you, it might be your third. It depends on what your character type is. And I'm going to plug that into other actor. Like I said, you're going to be an absolute expert at this. From the as BP first person character or as BP third person character, etc., etc., I'm going to grab the keycards Boolean array, and I'm going to plug this in to an insert. Because what we want to do when we collide with the key is we want to insert a key into this Boolean array. So I'm going to plug that in there. And what we want is the keycard value. Now, obviously, currently we don't have a keycard value. So what are we going to do? You're right, we're going to promote that to a variable. So if you right click on this pin, we're going to promote that to a variable, and this is going to be called keycard value, if I could spell correctly. We're going to open the eyeball, we're going to making the instance editable. I'm going to move this slightly out of the way, and we are going to tick the new item pin on the insert next to the Boolean tag, the single Boolean check, this is for a new item to be inserted into the array. We're going to tag that so that it is true. Right, next thing we need to do is we need to create a pickup widget so that we can actually pick this thing up. Now we can do this in two different ways. So the way that the slideshow has it set out is you create the pickup widget before you finish off the code. And so what I'm going to do is, similarly to what we did with the door, I'm going to finish off the code for the keycard and then make the widget. So if you're following this video and the slideshow, that create pickup widget slide number 14, we are going to skip over that and go to 15, and then we're going to go back to 14. I know, it's weird, but that's just how it is. So we're going to do some code to show that widget on pickup. So coming off of the insert, we're going to create a widget. We want to set color. Oh, I see. That's why Nathan's done it that way. Okay, never mind. I'm going back. Let's create the pickup widget first of all. So in our content drawer, in the Keycard tutorial folder, let's right click and we're going to make a new user interface widget blueprint. It will be a user widget. And we're going to call this Keycard pickup underscore widget. Now, if we open that up, let's add in our canvas panel. And then we're going to add in some text so that we can actually show some text that says you've picked up a keycard. I'm currently going to just throw this somewhere in the world. I'm going to try and center it there. Resize that box a little bit. And what we're going to do from here is we are going to go to enter anchor bottom center or wherever and enable size to content. I'm just going to place it wherever, and we'll get into anchors in widgets a little later on because I have a tutorial planned for you guys that builds an entire game purely out of widgets. However, I'm going to have to refresh my own memory on how to do it. I've done it in Unreal 4, but I need to refresh my memory for Unreal 5. But I think it would be a fun little tutorial for you guys. So, use format text. You picked up a color. So, for that, we are going to need to make a binding. With our text selected, over on the content section, obviously remember you will see the text that says text box. Next to that, you will see a binding button, which looks like a C and a backwards C on like a kind of angle almost. It's the kind of best way I can describe it. This is your bindings button. So if you click it and you're going to create a new binding, give it a second to load. We're going to rename it over on the functions side. Unlike your variables, it doesn't give you the option to do so straight away. We do have to right click rename, and we're going to call this show keycard collect. That's what I'm going to call it. You can call it something similar. I recommend calling it something similar, but it doesn't have to be anything too ridiculous. This is the only thing we're really adding to this widget. So coming off of the return value for the return node, we want to actually be able to get some text. So dragging off this, we want that format text that I mentioned. And we are going to add in the text that is included in the slide, which reads, you picked up a color keycard, which in the curly braces will add in a variable for you, or will add a variable pin for you. What we need to do with this, however, is what? After we compile. Excuse me? Create a variable. Can I not promote this to a variable? Interesting. So if we over in the variables side, I thought we could just promote it to a variable, but I guess not. Over on the side here, we are going to click on a new variable, and we are going to change it from a Boolean to a text variable. And we are going to rename this, and we're going to call this color with a capital C, and drag that on to the pin that we created with the format text. Let's just make that nice and tidy so that we don't have any worries about reading things badly. Over in our event graph, we don't need to worry about that. Back in the designer, when you've got your text box selected, you will see your binding is in the content, show keycard collect. Now then, back in our keycard object, this is where we're going to start to show the widget. So, dragging off of our insert, we're going to create that widget. Create a widget for us. We're going to drop down from the class. This is going to be a keycard pickup widget. And we're going to have to add that to the viewport. Add to viewport, because again, it's all very well as having this widget and the code reading that it should be created. However, we need to add it to the viewport so that we can actually see it, because the viewport is the camera that the player uses to actually see the gameplay. However, there is one thing that we need to do in between this. We need to make changes to the color of that specific keycard, of what it says in the keycard widget. So I'm going to drag off a return value, and I'm going to set, and if I can find it, let's just set color. If you set color, you'll be able to find that variable of color inside your widget that is attached to your binding. So the target will be the widget itself. Let's plug that set in to both of those. Color, however, we are going to create a new variable instead of promoting, because it's already an existing variable. We are going to create a new variable within our keycard object, and because we want to actually be able to set this when we're designing our level and putting the keycards into place. We're going to call this keycard underscore color, and it's not a Boolean, this is text, because this is going to tell, we're going to open that as well. This is going to tell the widget what color of keycard this is, so they can properly display in the text of which card we picked up. So if I drag this out, get the keycard, plug it into the color, we are now going to create the widget, set the color within the widget of what the keycard is, and then add it to the viewport. Right, if I zoom in a little bit more here, so I can properly see these icons, we are going to drag off of add to viewport. We're going to go for destroy component. Looks as though we are doing cube and box. And then from here, we're going to get the delay, set it to 5 seconds. And that widget that we created, we want to remove it from the parent. So we're going to drag off the return value of the widget and go for remove from parent, putting it at the end, plugging it into the delay, so that we eventually destroy the entire widget itself. Add in these pins just to make it nice and tidy. And then coming off of the remove from parent, we're going to destroy actor. This will destroy the entire actor itself. So, there you have it. There is your code for your keycard. Now we also need to set up the dynamic mesh for this chap as well. So in the construction script, we're going to have something very, very similar to our door. We're going to grab the static mesh. In this case is the cube. We're going to set static mesh. You're going to be an absolute master of this by the time you're done. We're going to get that new mesh. We're going to promote it to a variable. This is going to be our new mesh that we are going to have to assign before we can put it in our level, or else it's going to be invisible. This variable is going to be open, and it is going to be called keycard mesh underscore mesh. I'm going to compile that so that I can add in... Oh, never mind. I added a cube, didn't I? Whoops. My bad. I also forgot to plug the set static mesh in. So if I compile that now, it's gonna be disappeared. But in your BrightSpace section, you will find a file, an FBX file called Keycard. Please download that because you are going to be putting that into the file. It's into the folder itself. So in content drawer, we are going to find that file. Keycard, and we're going to drag and drop that straight in. So if we hit import, it will import, it will do its thing, it will prepare the shaders, it will add a material as well. However, I'm not going to worry about this material right now. We can maybe use it later on in the future. There were issues with the import. What do you mean issues with the import? No smooth group. That's fine. I don't care. Now that we've got our keycard static mesh, let's select our keycard mesh, drop down the default value, and we're going to set this to keycard. If I compile this now, as you can see, we have our keycard. It is quite small, so I will have to resize my collision box to fit it a little better, but much like the door, I'll get to the kind of visuals a little later on. I just want to make sure things are fully coded before doing all of that. So back in our construction script, we are going to drag off from the cube one more time. We're going to create dynamic material instance. I'm going to plug that in. With the source material, we are going to promote that to a variable. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to rename it. I can right click rename, or on the right hand side I can rename it there as well. I'm going to rename that keycard material. If I compile that, I can set the default material, and I'm going to set that to the dynamic mat inst that we created earlier. I'm going to add this little pin in here just to keep things nice and tidy as well. So we've got those plugged in. Much like our door, we now need to grab off of the return value from this, and we're going to set vector parameter value, because this is going to allow us to change the color. The parameter name is going to be color, because this is the parameter we're changing. And the value, we're going to promote that to a variable and call it color as well. And we're going to open that up too. And move that down there, out of the way. Right. And then finally, the final piece of the coded puzzle. We need to set the material and plug that into there. I'm going to need to take off of the create dynamic instance and plug that into the material as well. Keeping the code nice and tidy. So if I compile that, in the viewport, we see we have that black keycard. If I drag both the door and that's the static mesh, whoops, and the keycard object in, the keycard is nice and tiny. Over on the right, we will see we've got the color option for the color wheel. We can change this to whatever we want. And with the door, we can also do the same. And there we go. So, however, we also have keycard color as well. So if I say this is yellow, let's go with yellow. I'm going to delete this guy. I'm going to, ooh, if I can click him, move him slightly up, and then we're going to play test this. Let's check it and find out. Ooh, I'm moving real slowly. There's a little bit of lag here. There is floating in midair. Boom. You picked up a yellow key card. If I exit out of this and I change the default to, say, red, and change the color to, let's make it a nice red as well. That's kind of more like... how hard is it to get red? Jesus. There we go. If I hit play... Which way was it? I forget. This way? I'm lagging so badly. I think it's because I'm recording at the same time. I do need to upgrade my PC. We have our red key card. You can just kind of barely see it there. You picked up a red key card. Boom. Now, you may be able to alter the color and the values that are on this keycard and the door. However, we need to create a HUD widget to really kind of showcase what we're looking to do with this. So for that one final piece for this tutorial, let's create a nice HUD widget. So in our keycard tutorial, let's right click. We're going to go user interface, widget blueprint. This will be a user widget. And I'm going to go and call this, let's go for, let's just call it HUD underscore widget. Open that up. And we're going to add in our canvas panel. And then we're going to add in an image. And I'm going to drag this into place. Let's put it here. Yeah, I'm going to resize this ever so slightly so that it is like that. Right. With it selected, I'm going to go to the brush. I'm going to add a new binding. With this binding, we are essentially going to look for the player character to get a player reference to the key, to use that to get a reference to the key cards, and then change the color of the image depending on the key card that we picked up. So from get brush, we're going to go into a sequence. From then 0, we're going to go into a do once. And from, I'm going to remove the return node out of the way a little bit more. From completed, I'm going to go into that cast to, for me, first person character. For you, it could be third person. However, this time from object, I'm going to get player controller. Controller? No, player character, sorry. Controller is for inputs. Get player character. And then I'm going to, actually I'm going to completely break that entirely because we don't need the return node attached to this. I'm going to promote that to a variable so that we get a first person, a player character reference, and I'm going to rename that actually to character ref. With this, we are going to be able to do a branch. So hold B and left click and plug it into then 1. Taking that character reference, we're going to utilize this with our branch along with our keycard Boolean array. So coming off of the character ref, we are going to grab that reference to the keycard array. I'm going to move this over ever so slightly, just out of the way a little bit. Dragging off, I'm going to get a reference. Is it get a reference or get a copy? I think it's just get a reference. Ah, Nathan hasn't actually said. I think it's get a reference, though, by the looks of it. Let's compare, shall we? So that is get a reference, get a copy. Ah, they look exactly the same. Cool. That doesn't help any at all. Let's plug that first one into the first branch. And we're going to grab a second one. So get a reference. Get a reference. We're going to do it 3 times. Index is going to be 1 and index is going to be not 0, 2. We're not watching Darling in the Franks. So we go 0, 1, and 2. We're going to add in a couple more branches and plug those into our branches. We're also going to need a couple more return nodes as well. 1 for each of these. And that is if it is true. If it is false, they should come off each other because they're looking to check. Now, the return value for our first one should show the color red, because the way we're looking to have our keycards set up is if keycard 0, our keycard 0 should be red, keycard 1 should be blue, keycard 2 should be green, and all else, the image should be transparent, although we'll just leave it as white for now. So we're going to take that first return value, promote that to a variable, and call it red, so that we get a guaranteed slate brush. I am going to move this to here. Slate brush in, if you compile what you have, you will see in the default value, you can change this by dropping down. In the tint, you can change this to a nice red. Like so. We're going to do this for the other two. So for that second one, we are going to call this one blue. And for this one, we're going to call it green. Remember to compile so that you can actually access the default values. We're going to set this to be, let's make it a light blue. Yeah, let's make it a nice light blue. Then the green, we're going to set that to make a slightly darker green, shall we? Or, yeah, let's go for a slightly darker green. And then we're going to just compile that like so. Okay, and that is our HUD widget. Now, let's actually show our widget. I'm going to delete that keycard because I'm going to make some adjustments before we playtest. Let's actually show our keycard a little bit. Where should we put this? Let's put it in the player character. So in the player character, first person or third person, whichever one you're using, we're going to right click and we're going to event begin play. We're going to create widget. This widget is going to be our HUD widget, and we're going to add it to the viewport. So now if we compile that, go back to our level and hit play, as you can see, we have our white box up in the top corner. We have no way of currently changing what our white box looks like, however. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add in a couple key cards. First thing we're going to do is go to the key card. Let's change the collision box to be a little smaller. Boom, 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 boom. Whoops. Going a little quick. Yeah, I think that keycard's pretty fine. Default value, default root, I'm going to increase it ever so slightly. In fact, I could just do that in the level. However, what I will do is I will actually also do this. I will change it like so. So it's like that, standing upright. And what I'm actually going to do as well is I'm going to add another component. And this is a rotating movement. So if I, just to very quickly show you, throw this object keycard into the level, and just to properly give a good demonstration, let's increase the size of this bad boy. It's very, very big, but I'm going to replace it. This is just to showcase what the rotating movement does. If I turn around, your keycard is rotating in place. Cool. I'm going to leave the keycard as quite a small thing though, because you wouldn't be able to actually have to search for it if you're building a level. So I've got that set up. I'm going to go back to my door. I'm going to move this bad boy back in place. Or will I? Let's move the box instead, actually. Let's move the box back over. So it's actually surrounding, oh gosh, the cube, like so. Yeah, that seems fine to me. Compile that. Has been a while since we saved the project, so File S, Control Shift S, I mean, or File Save All. And let's hop back into our level. So we need a door for this room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my door object, drag it into place, and I'm going to start to resize this ever so slightly. Let's drag it out a little bit. I'm going to drag it up, drag it over again, and pop it into place. Now it is currently colliding with the textures. Now it is not. I now have a door. Let's say I want the keycard value to be 0 because I want the first keycard that I pick up to be the keycard needed. I am going to set this door, its color, I'm going to set this to be red because I want the... That's unusual. Hello? What the hell? Weird. Strange. Because I want to match up the color of the door with the keycard needed, I'm going to put the keycard somewhere. I'm going to put it over here. Let's put it a little further away. Let's have it floating in the air. And I'm going to change the color of that to red as... Hello? Ah, there we go. I'm going to change the color of that to red as well. And the keycard color is red. Its value is 0 as well. However, what I'm going to do is, you know what, this room is pretty important. I'm going to copy this door and I'm going to slide this into position so that we've got another room that we can go into. Boom, 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 boom. However, I want this one to look for a keycard value of 1. I want this one to now be blue. And I want a keycard for this door. So I'm going to duplicate my current keycard, and I'm going to put it in the room that I need the red one for. because I want to be able to access this room, grab the key card from here in order to open the other door. I'm going to change the color of this to also blue, and I'm going to change the keycard value to 1, and the keycard color is going to be blue because I want to show on screen as blue keycard collected. And we're going to just test that right now. So, play. Scrambling over here, we should, before I pick up the key, I apologize for the lag. Ooh, it doesn't tell me that I need a key card. If I pick up this key card, however, you will see that the image in the top left does change to red. Tells us we have a red key card. Oh, uh-oh. Our code isn't working. Oh boy, oh boy. Give me a moment. Now, you see, you guys are smart cookies, so you very likely will have noticed this before I did. Over on the door object, this is the very reason that our doors were not opening, and our code for some reason, our doors were not opening because of this, and our code for showing the wrong keycard wasn't working. So by changing the true, instead of this coming off the true from the branch into the sequence, we're doing false instead. If we compile that and then playtest it, I do apologize for the lag. I am very, very sorry. Wrong keycard. Keycard required, you dum-dum. If I go pick up the red keycard, we picked up the red keycard. It does tell us. Image changes to red. Kaboom. We now have a door that opens. If I pick this guy up, picked up a blue keycard, our image didn't change. Interesting. If I run out of the door, go over here, our door still opens. So there is a little bit of an issue with our image color not changing. However, you know what? Ignore the flowing doors. Don't worry about it. Even though we've got a bit of an image color change issue, our doors and our keycards function. We can set up specific keycards for specific doors so we can build a linear puzzle element to our world. I will continue to do all our other tutorials for the future in this world so we can essentially build it out into something cool that maybe I'll make the project available for everyone to have a look at later down the line, maybe toward the end of the year or in HND or something. Unless you're already in HND, if you're watching this, which I don't know, never give it to you. Mwahaha.